Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there and welcome back. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and you are at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Andrea Adams-Miller. How are you, Andrea?
I am absolutely hunky-dory, super fabulous.
Yeah.
And I just realized I'm not wearing my headset. So we're going to be flexible and adaptable and make it so that you can hear me even better now.
Look at that. Oh, it sounds a lot better. No, that's good. See?
There we go.
Awesome. Cool. So before we get started, let me just kind of give our listeners and viewers a little bit of your background so they can get to know you and then we can dive into it.
Sure.
So Andrea Adams-Miller, she is an international award-winning CEO for the redcarpetconnection.com as an international publicist, business consultant, NLP practitioner, and hypnotherapist. She leads you to excel further than you ever dreamed possible. Just imagine the lives you will affect when your message, service, and products are known to the world. And imagine how she, a whirlwind of energy, which she is, by the way, someone who has shared the stage with Jack Canfield, Stu Min, Graham, Les Brown, Brian Tracy, and more, has the authority, credibility, and connections to put you in the legitimate creative JBs and set up sponsorships and manage your events promotions. When you're ready to manage your publicity profitable, then call Andrea and smile. And talking about speaking of smiles, you also are the executive director of the KeepSmilingMovement.com, right? Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and you and I actually met, I think, about a year ago now, probably more than a year. I love that. Look at that. Yeah, keep smiling. I love that. Siga sonriendo. Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, you and I met about a year ago, I think, a little bit over a year ago at an event that you were in that. You were actually doing photography and some other stuff, if I remember correctly, which was at Marshall's event. It was pretty awesome.
That's where we met. Okay, because I was like, I know I knew you, but I couldn't remember or place you where we met or what we had done. And I was like, I don't even remember where we met.
Yeah.
And thank you for reminding me. Oh yeah, because you're such a doll. You have such a great energy about you and who you are and what you do. And so I'm so pleased to have reacquainted with you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, I appreciate it. No, we did, and it was good. I had a really good time over those 3 days and getting to know you, and I got your phone number, and I'm like, took a lot of pictures, which was pretty awesome. So it was good to connect with you then. So let's start from the beginning. Let me know where were you born, and talk about your childhood as you were growing up. I want to know more about you, and it will be good to connect with our listeners.
Sure. So I'm actually calling from my hometown. I live in Findlay, Ohio. Findlay, Ohio is in Northwest Ohio, south of Toledo. So in between Detroit, Michigan and Columbus, Ohio, along I-75. So, you can take my house all the way down to Florida. And
I got to go visit you, by the way. Sorry to interrupt. I got to go visit you there because I actually, I'm into real estate and I bought a property in Toledo, Ohio, and I'm supposed to be going there in about a month or two. So, I'm going to come and see you.
Well, let me know if you need picked up at the airport or something, depending on where you fly in, let me know. We'll work it out. Great. So good. You'll have property near me. My husband owns rental properties as well, so I'm
Yeah.
familiar with the real estate market, and I've
Good.
I've actually helped clients in the real estate market with buying, flipping, and all of that wonderful stuff. So here in Ohio, it's a small community that I live in. 47,000 is our city, and so our city when I was little was 3 miles wide and 6 miles long. It's now expanded to be another 2 or 3 miles wide and maybe another mile long, but it's very small, as you can hear. And
Yeah.
I live in the country. I live on a 50-acre farm. My oldest daughter has horses. The horses live at her house part-time and live at my house. My grand horses come and stay so they can eat the grass down, and we grow she grows her own hay, for them. And then I have 2 other daughters as well. So my kids are all adults. So I have Destiny, Devaney, and Demaya. So they're 21, 22, and 29. And then I'm Glamaw to Mavis and Warren, who are 4 and 1, and they are such a joy. Being a grandparent is absolutely amazingly fun, and I live with my husband, Tom.
Yeah.
And I grew up an only child and a lonely child. We didn't have kids who lived in the neighborhood. I was by myself all the time. So I really loved school so I could be with people, and because being in isolation was difficult for me as a kid. And I found my way to be resilient from the loneliness through books. So you can see that I love books.
Yeah.
I have a library at home and a library here at my office. I'm really into books. But as a little girl, my mom would take me to the library, and I'd just get a big old stack of books. And I'd bring them home, and I'd lay on my bed and pop them open. And I learned how to be a speed reader. And because I was so eager.
Yeah.
Eager for connection, eager to explore the world, because I was in a house with just my parents, and TV was very important to my dad. So that I was even more lonely, because I didn't want to watch the TV that they watched. So it was through my friends' books. Those are my friends. I just read them cover to cover, boom, close it, pick up another book, where actually sometimes it was difficult for me to differentiate from one story to the other because I just read them so fast and furiously one into the other. It was just amazing. One of my favorite series was the Bobbsey twins, and that was about these family that had 2 sets of twins and how they lived on a farm and did all this stuff together. And so there were so many kids and so much family. I always wanted that. So I was very pleased to have 3 children and be able to live on a farm. And I'm about connecting people and all of that. But the other way I overcame being lonely was I realized that through school, extracurricular activities, and like Girl Scouts, and in 5th and 6th grade, that was my first experience with running a business.
Wow.
We decided as a class, our teachers came up with an idea I went to Benjamin Franklin Elementary to have Ben's Box. And Ben's Box was a store where we had, sweatshirts, t-shirts, pens, pencils, paper, fun things like that. And we needed money. Well, I was a very thrifty saver as a child. And so I, for the school, I provided $600 at 4% income over the course of 2 years. So that was my first investment. And then I helped run Ben's Box and thrive doing that. And that's also when I was really active in Girl Scouts and became the president of a subset troop. We were called Swits 85. Scouts with interest in traveling to Zurich.
Nice.
And that was in 1985. And so my mom and dad and another woman took 14 or 16 of us kids under the age of 16 to Europe for 22 days.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
where I first that's where I first became an international speaker, because I had to speak as the president of that club. I had to speak to all these different people who hosted us and the corporations that we went to. I had to get up and speak about who we were, what our mission was, what our plan, why we were there, what our goals were. And so, that was kind of how I started out my entire life.
Wow, that's awesome. If you were to look back, what were some of the lessons that you might have taken from your early, adulthood? Are there any major lessons that you learned, or even just coming out of the being lonely or not having, people or friends to commingle with? Are there any major lessons that now you've applied to your life now?
Yeah, and I'm still applying them now. I mean, it's funny. I'm 51 now, and to think all these years I've still held things. We have limiting beliefs that we're not even aware of that we have, and being trained in neurolinguistic programming and as a practitioner and doing hypnosis, I'm learning more and more that there's little beliefs or thoughts that we get from and the people might not even be teaching them to us. It might
Mhm.
be our perception of what we're receiving from them that hold us back. And so even last night, I did a trade-off session with another friend, and we were releasing things that we've been holding on to
Mm.
that hold us back. One of mine is that if someone, because my dad was very verbally
Mhm.
loud, uh, when anybody speaks loudly to me or uses a certain tone of voice, I instantly like resort to, like, you can literally see, like the other day I was on a board meeting and somebody said, Andrea, that is not what I'm talking about. And as soon as I heard him say that, I felt myself go,
Ah, gotcha.
and shut down. I shut down. I didn't talk through the rest of the board meeting. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. First of all, I took that personal just because the person was, I mean, it probably had nothing to do with me. And if it had something to do with me, I brought up something while she was talking and I could have waited till she was done. So, and so I recognized that during the meeting. So that's why I said I need to release that. So when people, for whatever reason, whether it's because I needed to hear it or because they had something going on that had nothing to do with me, I don't have to react to it emotionally or
Yeah.
shut down. I just have to hear it. It's
Yeah.
just an opinion. It's just a tone of voice. And by detaching from that, then, so my lesson, I guess, is that going through and figuring out the things in your world that trigger you to act or feel or behave in such a way that is not what you want to present in the world. Because I'm a powerful person and I have really important things to say. And the fact that the tone of someone's voice
Yeah.
could shut me up for 45 minutes, that's unacceptable.
Right. And I think that's actually critical because I think we go through a lot of things, and as people we don't realize that, right? Like sometimes there's triggers that would trigger us, or something that might trigger us, like maybe somebody cut you off, while you're driving, and then that instantly changed your demeanor and your physiology or the way you react to that, and that just was a trigger. Yet we don't recognize that, and understanding part of the NLP aspects of that, when you start clearing some of those things or getting to the root cause of that, to understand what was it that triggered you. It wasn't necessarily that person that might have cut you off, or somebody that raised your voice. It's something beyond that, and to be able to get to that, you have to get into that state of mind, and be able to go through that clearing of that, and making sure that you can work through those things. And I see how that's definitely for sure something very good to do, right, as we people. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then in terms of obviously you're doing a lot of stuff around media, publicity, all of these things. Is that what you wanted to do growing up, or you had something else in mind?
Um, when I was in 8th grade, we had to do an assessment test thing of like what we're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
And I put on there that I wanted to be a mother, uh, archaeologist, and a brain surgeon. But I didn't want to, but for whatever reason in 8th grade, I didn't want to go to college. I think that was because I had the mindset, because nobody in my family had ever gone to college, or
Mm.
I guess I had one aunt who went to a little bit of college, but like no one ever had gone to college or had an education out of like huge extended family. So I guess I didn't think that was an option. I didn't think financially that was an option. So I was trying to say, what could I really, really do? And then, my guidance counselor was like, well, you can't do these two things. And being a parent is not an option for you as a job, and I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
And I remember I'm actually friends with her now, and she remembers me argue. She's like, you argued with me about that. And I'm like, oh, that's, I didn't believe that to be so. But as I became as past 8th grade, the more I learned about the world, and the more I experienced where you know situations of people that I knew being in domestic violence, or rape, or sexual abuse, or just what was going on in the world, I became more aware that I had this sense of feeling to do something for justice, and to stand up for like underdogs and under people. And part of that was probably because I wanted people to stand up for me my whole life. So how could I do that for other people? That kind of created a why, or a passion for me. And I learned more about that by volunteering through it was through acts of service. I just volunteered for everything, because that got me out of my household. Because if you say you're going to go volunteer, or you're going to go work, nobody's going to say no. You're allowed to go do those things.
Right.
And that allowed me the freedom to explore the world and meet people who were doing major things, and had a belief or a mindset bigger than what I had been raised or grew up with. My dad didn't have this belief that we could accomplish and do things. He had more of a minimalist view of what was possible. And I ended up going into, I worked in security, and I applied to work at the jail while I worked private security. And I had really great training there. I worked at a Sears in private security with a police chief and the sheriff. They both did that as a part-time job in a city south of me. And I went there and worked with them while I also managed a store. And then I got the job as a corrections officer. By the way, I was laughing about that the other day. So in 1989, I got hired as a corrections officer. I often worked the violent felon ward, or the process where I processed people in for their crimes. So I took them, pat them down, and brought them into the jail. Big responsibility, for $7 and a penny.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's how much I got paid.
Wow.
$7 and a penny to work the violent felon ward. But I actually loved working there, and I worked well with the people. I treated them with respect. I felt it was my job to make sure that they were alive and healthy, and not my job to judge them or treat them any particular way. And 98% of our people were going to get out eventually. And I wanted to treat them in such a way so that they felt that they were humans, so that when they came out, they would be productive in our society. And so I did really well in that position. And then I went on to work at the police department after that.
Wow. So you definitely have a lot of that, a lot of the I was going through this recently when we're talking about like NLP and archetypes. And the first thing that came to mind, I can see the knight in you, or the ruler in you, based on those different things and elements that you do, which is pretty awesome. So you were talking about beliefs and possibilities, and sometimes, like you said, your dad was probably didn't see the possibilities, or had limited beliefs. What would be with you obviously being around so many great people and doing all the different things that you're doing? What would you tell our listeners or viewers in terms of those limiting beliefs, and also to open up and understand there are endless possibilities in terms of then just pushing through, right? Because a lot of people just feel like there's that wall, and that's it. That they don't want to, see that or believe that.
Well, part of it is that I've always believed that there's this internal locus of control and external locus of control, meaning that I'm responsible for things, or the world is responsible for things. And I started studying religion in 6th grade, and started reading about all kinds of different religion, because it intrigued me why one religion would say something, and why something did us, and why they would still argue. And I really believe that they were all for good. So why were people arguing when they really cared about the same thing? And so I was reading things. I mean, I read about the occult, and I read about Buddhism and existentialism. And I mean, I told you I was an avid reader I remember doing this in sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade. And what I came to believe from all of that and looking at people, wait, reframe your question again, because I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
Yeah. So, what would you tell people in terms of those limiting beliefs and also understanding the possibilities, that there are possibilities? Yeah.
Thank you. So from that internal and external locus of control and reading all that about religion, I started seeing what are the values that people need, what is it that they want, and what are they led to believe for themselves, and what could they get permission to let go if it weren't true. So like somewhere along the line from reading all those books, I somehow figured out that regardless of my dad saying that this can't be, I could create it to be. So I learned very early to manifest things that weren't going to happen. Like, you're not going to be able to go here, or you're not going to be able to do this, or you're not going to be able to afford that. Even as a teenager, I figured out a way to manifest that to happen. And, at the time it seemed more like magic or, whatever, where now I look back as I somehow, from reading all these books, learned a way of languaging things so that it was, in a way, it's kind of funny. It was like playing a game. I knew that if I worded things in such a way that it became my dad's idea, then he would buy into it, and then I would go, that's a great idea. And then I could go along, and then all of a sudden we were going where I wanted to go, or doing what I wanted to do. And I realized I had this covert power of being able to manipulate my world. And at the time, it was a form of manipulation, not for evil, but for selfish reasons. And then over time, I realized that manipulating things is not bad. Manipulating things when you're trying to achieve good, I think that's why I mentioned the religion part, is how do you manipulate the world or the views of people so that they think positive and they do things for the good. A friend of mine, Barry Shore, goes, you're always looking for you are good looking because you're looking for the good. And he's the ambassador of joy. He's going to be on your show. He's amazing.
Oh, awesome.
And that's so true, is that we have this capability to create our life the way we want to, and to see things. And when we start looking, I think part of that religious thing too is I questioned things. I was questioning faith and questioning why do you like, because my grandma believed well, you just don't ask questions, you just do, or you just obey. And I'm like, well, why can't you ask questions? Like, my opinion was, if I ask questions about my religion, then because I grew up in going to Methodist church with her, I'm like, if I don't ask questions, then how am I educated in being able to defend my beliefs?
Right.
And then the more I started learning about other things, I'm like, I don't fall into that. I mean, I am a very spiritual person, but I'm not religiously locked in, because I see too many possibilities to by questioning and learning and educating. It makes me wiser and more able to make decisions based on an education rather than blind faith. Like, I do have faith. I have faith that the world is always going to take care of me, and that everything will be okay and turn out. But that only came through being resilient through a lot of horrible things that happened in my life. I had some pretty crazy things that happened, and being resilient through them is what made me realize that was a possibility. So for other people that are listening, you have a choice, and right now, if no one's ever given you permission before to believe what you want to believe and to think what you want to think, that just because your parents said, or your preacher said, or your boyfriend or your husband or your girlfriend or whoever your partners are say, doesn't mean that that's truth, and it doesn't mean it's truth for you.
You
have the permission to make it up on your own.
Yeah, I like what along with that line, I like what Les Brown talks, and he says in many of his interviews, he said, somebody else's opinion about you should not become your reality. And
Yes.
and that's pretty much what you're saying. And it's true, right? I mean, a lot of times we tend to, although it's okay, I feel like it's okay to listen in when we should get that feedback. And really it's only that, it's a feedback. And then take what you can use from that, and then whatever you can use, just let it go, right?
Right.
Except don't allow that to become your reality, or dictate your next step or your future, or whatever the case may be, right? And so
Yeah.
I definitely love that. I love what you said here. You said you have a beautiful message that the world is literally dying to hear. Let's put the spotlight on you so your message can change lives and even save lives. Could you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. And actually, so I will preface it with this.
Yeah.
As a person who's I consult people on publicity in their business, and I've learned very early that the best of the best also have coaches and stuff. So I've had up to 3 or 4 mentors, coaches all at the same time. You,
Mm-hmm.
Cesar, have had mentors and so forth. And I'm constantly learning and adapting and changing. I know that I need to always be evolving so that I can play the game in the world the way I want it to be. And the more I have coaching, the better. Anthony Hopkins, I had the pleasure of sharing the stage with him.
Mm.
And he had shared the most poignant well, he shared from stage some things, and then afterwards he and I were talking one-on-one, and I said, Anthony, Sir Anthony, you said, every time that you go for a show, you have a dialect coach, a movement coach, an acting coach. I mean, that just blows me away. And he said, he called me Lady in Red. Yes,
Yeah.
and so instead of saying Andrea, he goes Lady in Red.
Yeah.
I do that because I care about my craft. And he talks very cadence,
Yeah.
and he goes, and the more I hone my craft, the better I am and who I represent.
Wow.
And it was just like so beautiful to know it. So here's this man who's multiple awards. Come
Mm-hmm.
on, multiple awards. And he's
Mm-hmm.
got a coach for everything. What? I mean,
Yeah.
so that taught me right then. I mean, I always need to be investing myself and always looking at how I can do things. And so one of my clients, who you've had on your program,
Mm-hmm.
Carmen Ventrucci, I've been coaching her with some things and stuff for her publicity and her business because she's a wonderful woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so yesterday we actually did a Facebook Live, and just because we wanted to show people what it looked like for someone else to do, it's for someone that's considered who's making it, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, to be able to release a limiting belief, because we wanted to show that it doesn't matter what level. You don't have to be a beginner, you don't have to be a startup to need coaching or need whatever. So she did a limiting belief on me, and originally the limiting belief, what I thought it was, is that I've been asked to step up and do things way bigger than I've ever done. And I am the executive director of the Keep Smiling movement, and that's getting bigger and bigger. But I've been asked to step up and be a role even bigger for some
Mm-hmm.
other things that 3 different people have approached me about being a representative for for the world. And
Wow.
so it's huge. And so that would level me in a position go towards being a Bene Brown or a Mel
Mm-hmm.
Robbins, and with that comes a lot of responsibility. So I thought my limiting belief was that I was afraid of how I was going to be able to serve and fulfill my obligation to all of these people. And what we realized after asking the questions and going through it, my limiting belief was that because I was told these things aren't possible, you never will do this or whatever, that, get out of
Mm-hmm.
my head and just be real, that I wanted to make the people who told me those things right. And in order to make them right, I had to hold myself back and stay small.
Wow.
So what we did then is did a release where, and I've done multiple releases over that same topic, but we worded it in such a different way that we got to deeper layers of that, where I'm able to realize that that's what they said or their belief was in the moment, but no one was going to be angry with me if I was successful.
Mm.
So while I'm having like if they see me, what would happen is as I would have growing pains with growing a business and making financial decisions. They would say, see, you're spending money. Oh, you're gone all the time. And so I'd had 51 years of negativity about all the growing and growth that I've done, but no one was reflecting all the rewards of all the outreach and all the wonderful lives that I've changed. And yet at the same time, I found out that those people who had said negative things about me were actually bragging about me to other people. I just never heard it. So what I needed to release for myself was a limiting belief that those messages were true, and that I had to accept them or even hear them or acknowledge them by realizing that those people that was their way of loving me. So I thought I wasn't loved. They actually did love me, and they said those things thinking they were doing it for me and preventing me from getting hurt or being whatever, not realizing that you can't hold back that. If there's greatness there, you have to let it continue.
Right.
So,
no, yeah, and I totally agree with you. I mean, I think a lot of times, again, a few things, people believe, and I remember before I got into my journey of being an entrepreneur, like I felt like I don't need anyone to help me or hold me by the hand or teach me anything. I'm already investing money on my education, going to school, getting my college degree, and I'm doing everything that I can, right? And I learned early on through my real estate that if I would have had hire a coach or somebody to help me in the real estate aspect of business, I would have never lost all my properties back in the housing crash. And I did. I lost it all. Foreclosed, short sales, you name it. And even more so the last couple of years, I realized how critical that is. I was actually talking to somebody, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday of this week, and I was talking to them about how much I spent in the last 3 years on self-development and just personal growth. And it wasn't so much about me throwing out a number. It was more of me telling this person that I've done that because I needed to, and I have to. Just like, you want to go to school and pay for your education. To me, this is my type of education is non-traditional. And although I do have a master's degree, I'm still getting educated, whether it's through NLP, whether it's through life coach, whether it's through my mentor Marshall Silver, whatever the case may be, right? And I see how critical that is. Number one. Number two, even with NLP, I've done what you just did, which is a lot of that clearance, because I think it's very helpful for us to realize what are some of the obstacles or challenges that we're putting in front of us, and how can we clear those things? And I think that when you show that authenticity and you show that you're not perfect, because nobody's perfect, yet you show that you're actually working on that craft, you're going through the process, your message becomes much more stronger when people see that, right? And that's one thing that I definitely want to be able to do, and I see you doing that too. Now, with your journey of being a international publicist, business consultant, NLP, all of that stuff, how do you find time to balance all of those things?
Well, this week is not the week to ask that.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to launch the Keep Smiling movement.
Yeah.
So we are doing our first national launch.
Nice.
And May 25th through May 31st, which you are one of the people who has openly given your heart and of your program to share our authors' messages about who they are. And these are the Keep Smiling books, some of them behind me. We have over 140 authors. 100 of them are printed now. And what these books are they tell their story of how they found their why and how they create smiles in the world for other people. And they're stories of hope and inspiration. And then they have photographs of 99 other people in each of the books that are either their fans, followers, their membership, or people that inspire them, or people they want to work with. And then they have quotes every day for people. So the balance, so for this week, I actually said to my husband yesterday, I might have been this morning, I said, all right, I have noticed that every time I am ready to do something really big, I get some passive aggressive pushback from you. I said to my husband, and I said, and I need you right now, I need more than ever, is your support, that I am unavailable. I need you to let me go and let me be so that I can be as big as I need to be for this. And when it's done on May 31st, it'll be done. June 1st, let me rest. June 2nd, you can ask of me. Until then, can it just be tabled? Can you just leave me alone and not ask from me and not demand my time? And but at the same time, I realized, so I do run two businesses and I run the nonprofit. The nonprofit as executive director, I do that as a volunteer. I do spend about 45, 50 hours a week on that movement alone.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy. And then of course with the two businesses, and then I have a household. And so like right now I'm not cooking. Okay, so during COVID here, I was cooking twice a day, still doing my business, still doing everything. That made my husband really happy. Now I'm not cooking, and so he's not as thrilled.
Yeah.
But he's willing to accommodate, and I do try to at least my daughter's been amazing. My youngest one lives with us, and she's been doing a lot of that. And so the balance is trying to do different things. So last night I got home at 7:45, ate with dinner with my husband and watched TV with him and talked with him, and then when he went to bed, I stayed up and worked till 2:00 in the morning, and then spent time with him this morning, and then instantly came and worked. And so I try to touch base with him. So that's how I see my grandchildren, by going and visiting them where they're babysat. My parents babysit them, and I go and visit them for like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, take them for a walk or engage with them. And I also have gotten to the fact where, in fact, I told my business partner today, he's like, oh, I just have all this stuff and I'm just so overwhelmed, with things I have to do, this monster. And I said, you know what, Ken, it's a monster, but you don't have to kill the monster today. You could just maim him, take out a foot, take out a hand.
Right.
And I said, because the world is not going to end if we don't meet all these deadlines. These are deadlines that we have self-imposed.
Yeah.
And so I am allowing myself permission that it's okay that these things aren't done. And just because somebody else wants them for whatever they want, I'm literally starting to say things like, I would love to be able to do that for you, but your timeline doesn't fit in with the things that I need to do for this. So can I pass something off to you so that you can complete it and do it yourself, and I support you and help you? Or can you just wait?
Right.
And or can you do it yourself? And in doing that, I'm just being honest with people. I've realized the more vulnerable I am, the more I've given myself a break. That, I mean, I literally made a joke the other day that I wish there was a McDonald's ball pit open somewhere close to me, because I wanted to go in and lay in it and then hold a whole bunch of balls like I'm juggling, and saying, I'm not juggling balls, I'm laying in a pit of them. I have I mean, literally today I wrote up my to-do list. This is my to-do list of things that need to be done by tonight. There's 4 pages of stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
And then what I did first of all is I puked them all out, got them out of my head, because my brain was hurting. So by puking them out and getting them out of my head and then I just do them and check them off. And I told my business partner today, he said, it's a beautiful day, I'm not going to get to enjoy it. And I said, unacceptable. Your brain can only work for 40 to 50 minutes. Stop. Go outside, go play with your son for 15 or 20 minutes, and then come back. So those of you who are listening, I've always said, if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it. Somehow we figure it out, and you figure it out. So like, am I cooking? I said, yeah, hardly. Am I cleaning right now? Barely up after myself. But you know what? It's okay, because balance is, today I might do this, tomorrow I might not. And that's okay. What can be cut out? What can be done? I mean, like, I wore something I didn't have to press or iron. I just throw on a shirt, so I can go. Whatever we got to do to make things happen. It's good enough is good enough. I had a friend once tell me that 80% is good enough, unless you're doing brain surgery.
Yeah. Right.
And so I can't look for perfection anymore. I have to do with what's good enough. And the more CEOs I talk to, more leaders I talk to, that's what they say. They say you do the best you can with what you've got, you get it done, and your action has to be faster.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times too, I see, I think Denzel Washington talks about being busy doesn't necessarily relate to being productive, right? And so with that, just because you have a million things to do, you have to be able to, like you said, balance things and figure out, okay, what is going to give me the most productivity, right, today, or for what I got to get done today. And I always also refer to it as not necessarily priority management, is more so time management. The priority will fall into the time. First, I have whatever X amount of hours. Like today, I woke up at 6 a.m. And so I know I'll be up until like 12 or so. So I know that I have that 16 hours or so, awake. And so I got to be able to manage anything within that time, right? So that's something that, I also learned throughout the couple of years of, doing the things that I'm doing now more so than anything. So before I let you go, I have a couple more questions for you. Do you have any daily habits, rituals, or things that you do on a day-to-day basis to keep you smiling, to keep you on a positive mindset?
Yeah. So every morning that I'm home, I spend time alone with my husband. So in the morning, so we schedule that we're going to spend time together. So even if it's only a half an hour or so, that's time that I have contact time, that I get to have someone talking to me, that there's nothing else going on. It's just somebody else paying attention to me or loving on me. And then when I'm traveling, I either call him or something like that and talk to him that way in the morning before I leave. So that way I have someone that I'm connecting to, that's somebody who cares about me, and my intimate person who gets my mind and my world. And I reach out to some of my certain friends, even if I can only talk to them for 2 or 3 minutes. I talk to them for 2 or 3 minutes, and I reach out to them. And to my business partner, Ken, I usually send him an inspirational message or a quote, or just checking in on him every day, because what we're doing here to change the world is a big deal, and I want to make sure that he always has that love and support. And it's not so much it's for him, but it makes me feel good to do it. So it's although it's for him, I want to be very vulnerable and authentic with the fact that it serves me to do that. And I have these cards everywhere. We have them in 27 different languages, by the way.
Nice.
And when you see this card, you can't help but be reminded to smile. And they're everywhere in my world. Dashboard of my car and my mirrors laying around. I mean, shoot, there was, I don't even know, one must have fallen off out far. I walked over one when I walked in the door today. And a smile is just like any other muscle. The more you smile, the more you can retain a smile and hold it up in its brilliance. And when you smile, those neurotransmitters give you a dose of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, which literally give you energy and allow you to change the world. And usually at some point every day, I'm singing. So give them the old razzle dazzle, razzle dazzle 'em. And that's like an intro song I sing all the time when I'm going on stages. And when I sing, whether it's a radio or some song I'm making up, because I write music and songs, it gets me jazzed and gets me going. If I could live in a musical, that's totally what I would do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I love that. No, that's awesome. And then in terms of how you help out people, you do business consulting. You obviously do other things related to helping other people. How can people find you or connect with you, and what are some of the things that people can work with you on one-on-one?
Thank you for asking. So I'm the CEO of the Red Carpet Connection. So the redcarpetconnection.com/free gift. This is compliments of Cesar. So free gift. theredcarpetconnection.com/free gift. It's a 7-day publicity challenge. And this is an opportunity for you to have a taste or an example of what it really means to have publicity, because people don't understand. And along with publicity, I work on mindset, help you release it. So I do the work, so you're not doing the work. You get to just enjoy releasing the limiting belief. And then we really focus on who you are, what your passion is, the why behind it, and how you can show up in the world. So, you can show up like a Kardashian without making a sex tape, and you can show up like the Olsen twins and actually have a product or service that changes the world. What do they have? So let's get you out there, because you actually are you. Like you, Cesar, you're doing something for the world. All of you who are listening and watching, again, you have something, and I'm not kidding when I say someone's literally dying to hear it, because they may be dying financially, they may be dying medically, they may be dying emotionally. They need what you have, whether it's a product, a service, a software, a coaching, a training on how to play a better hobby or something. It doesn't matter. Someone out, if you thought of it, there's a whole world out there that wants to be a part of it, and they need you, especially right now with what's going on. The outreach right now, people need something. As the executive director of the Keep Smiling movement, 800,000 people take their life every year. That's one every 40 seconds. And for every person that takes their life, 20 more attempted. And that's not even including the people who just feel low self-esteem or lack of confidence or depressed. So there's thousands of people who need some intervention, something to motivate and inspire them. And it's each one of you that has that. So through the Red Carpet Connection, it's first just us connecting to figure out what we do first is we unearth the gold. What is the gold that you have? And then how do we bring that to the surface so that other people can experience and be bedazzled by the gold and the gems that you've maybe been hiding from other people, or didn't want to hide but didn't know how to showcase, and we'll put the spotlight on it for you.
Yeah, no, I love that, and it's amazing the things that you are doing, and definitely I believe that we are here to serve a bigger purpose, and that purpose is not only to help yourself. Obviously, throughout this journey called life, you want to take care of your body, you want to take care of that vehicle, which is your body, and yourself too. Yeah, with that though, you also want to be able to embody and empower other people that, for whatever reason, might be less fortunate or might not have the resources or might not have the tools, and you have the opportunity to come in here and just do something for them. So I love what you're doing with the Keep Smiling movement, which is pretty awesome. So very, very powerful. The last thing, you've given us a lot of great information. So the last question that I have for you is, whoever's listening to this or watching this, if they're going through some sort of challenge right now, what can be one thing that they can do to overcome that challenge?
The one thing they can do to overcome that challenge is, often when we're in that challenge or in that moment, we dwell on it, we talk about it, and we share it. So I would like people to start doing something different. I'd actually like them to start to write it down and then put it away. And then eventually, when you're ready, you never open it again. You burn it, you throw it away, you throw it in a folder. But eventually I'd like it to just go away, because we spend so much time reliving something negative and thinking about the broken heart that we have. And then we break our own heart over and over again. I call it punching yourself. If I never had a sibling, but I've had friends with siblings, and how the sibling would like make you, are you punching yourself? You're punching yourself. You're punching yourself. So every time you repeat, oh my gosh, did you see how he looked at me right now? Or, oh my God, that guy cut me off. That guy cut me off. Did you see that guy cut me off? And that more times that you repeat the story about how you got cut off, or someone gave you a dirty look, or someone said something nasty, every time you repeat it, you actually create for your body a punching yourself. So you might as well just punch yourself in the face, because that'd be quicker and less painful.
Yeah.
Because this bruise will go away, but the emotional bruise from the story lingers much longer. So if you can write it down, or if you can whisper it into the wind and then let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Let
Let
it
it
go.
go. Let it go. I love it.
Do you know
Yeah.
why you can't give Elsa a balloon?
Because she will let it go.
Because she'll let it go.
Right? Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. This was awesome. I really enjoyed our conversation. Is there anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Yeah, I want all of you to reach out to me. I please. I don't want you to think about money. I don't want you to think about limitations. I want, if anything that I said today moved or motivated you at all, reach out to me. At theredcarpetconnection.com, theredcarpetconnection.com. Reach out to me. Maybe we're just supposed to connect. Maybe I'm just supposed to know who you are. Maybe we're supposed to work together. I don't know. I don't have any pretenses of what that connection is supposed to be or not supposed to be. But if anything strikes you that you must know me, then reach out to me now so that we can make that complete.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for being here again. Really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you.
And for the rest of you guys, please do me a favor. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast. Come in here and drop your comments. Definitely want to hear your comments. Please listen to this podcast and stay tuned for the next podcasts that are coming up. Have a good day and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you tuned in to this podcast. You can find me at Spreaker.com, where you can like and subscribe. And to learn more about myself and my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at Facebook under Cesar R. Espino. Once again, thanks for joining me. I am looking forward to having you at the next episode, and know that you truly can overcome anything.